Hello everyone. Today I am joined by special guest David Aherne. David is not only a very good friend of mine, but David is a genius at moving things around the world. David is the CEO and founder of Across the Ocean Freight Forwarding. Now, as usual, we jump into a range of topics. But some that I want to mention to you all is that we talk about the power of relationships and where good relationships and great relationships can get you, and also the power in connecting. And at times now in this digital world that the power of human connection may seem like it's a dying form. However, it is one of the most important things to do. Finally, David shares his wisdom with us about the power of stepping out of your comfort zone, and you really don't know where that may take you, and it may take you somewhere great. I had an absolute blast with this episode, so I hope you all enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Lifelong Learner. Today we're joined by special guest David Aherne. Welcome, David. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks, Janesh. Yourself?
Yeah, good. David, I'm going to try and rattle off an intro for you, and I'm sure to miss quite a few things. So at the end, I'll give you a chance to fill in the blanks. So, mate, I'm going to lead with this one. Mate, we've known each other. I'm going to call you a dear friend. Is it 5 years? 6 years? How long we've known each other for?
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. Yeah, feels like 6 though.
in a good way.
Yes.
Yeah. David's a logistics guy. He is an international man of mystery and travel. He is Mr. Globetrotter. He runs a global business in 4 countries. How many countries?
3 countries. Yeah. Australia, USA, and Netherlands.
Awesome. Dad and epic, devoted, which we were talking about before, soccer coach, which with those that think you can't make things work around kids' sporting commitments, David plans his travel all around his kids' soccer games, and will fly in and out so he doesn't miss a game. So, mate, what did I miss? What did I miss? Fill in the blanks there.
International man of mystery. Yeah, freight forwarding. So I am a freight forwarder. Some people call us crazy. I'm from the UK originally. I moved over to Australia in 2008. What else have you missed? No, nothing really. Yes, I am a soccer coach, and I love the game, and I love contributing to trying to improve the kids and getting the kids to have the opportunities that I had as a kid growing up in the UK. It's really important. I'd say international networker. That's probably how I'd call myself, amongst other things. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Mate, how did you get into this, right? So how did one get into this industry of moving things across the world from small to big to small to big to actual physical size to also financial value as well? Mate, how does someone get into this?
If I'm honest, I fell into it, Janesh. I wasn't the brightest button at school. I'll be honest with you. My focus was always football, as we call it in the UK. And then as I reached, 15, 16, other things start taking your eye with the female of the species. And I was working at Tesco, which is, UK's version of Coles, I suppose. And I worked in various areas in the supermarket just as a part-time job, which became full-time after I'd finished at school, left school at 18, and just started applying for jobs in the local newspaper, as you did back then. And one afternoon I got a phone call from a job that I'd applied for, and it was a freight forwarder, and they were based in Birmingham, which, if anybody knows their geography, Birmingham's landlocked. So a lot of people wonder what a freight forwarder does in Birmingham. I like to point out that Birmingham does actually have more canals than Venice, but being a freight forwarder, you're basically a broker. So what you do is you arrange the movement of freight around the world by sea, by air, by truck, by train, and you offer the whole process from point A to B, so from warehouse to shelf, almost. So yeah, I got a phone call from a freight forwarder. I didn't know what one was. I just applied for it because it sounded good. It said a lot about geography and potential travel. So I went along to this job in the UK, and they offered me a role for £7,000 a year, which was that 13,000 Australian. I thought I'd hit the jackpot, and it was as a management trainee. So I learned all aspects of freight forwarding through this company, and I had a really good year working there. I say a year because after a year, we used to have a thing in the UK where we'd arrange for different freight forwarders to get together, and we'd all get together every quarter, and basically everyone would get shit-faced and just have a laugh, and it was really good. And the one night we're on a barge on the canal, going up and down the canals, and the drink was free flowing, and I got talking to a really big client of ours, of this freight forwarder that I was working for at the time, and obviously I was rambling to them. I was 19 years old, and I'd had a few too many lager shandies. And next morning I get up, and I'm in the office, and a couple of people say, "Wow, you were on one last night. You were talking to our client for quite a while, and I just hope you didn't make a fool of yourself or the company." Anyway, a few weeks later, I got a phone call off this client, and they said that, "Oh, one of our staff's going on maternity leave. Would you like to come and see us for an interview?" So obviously I went to see them. They offered to double my pay from what I was on, which a year in the industry was quite an achievement. So God knows what I'd said to him that night. And so that led to me being charged of a sea freight department over in Leicester for a few jobs, but I'd always had the itch to travel. Especially having spoken to all these people around the world. I used to deal with people in Hong Kong, China, UAE, and I suppose that's part of me decided that I needed to get out there and experience these cultures that the people I was speaking to. So I decided to go backpacking for a year, did the old English thing, and stuck a backpack on, and went off for 12 months backpacking around Asia, and had a great time. I used the contacts that I made in freight forwarding, and met up with agents in Hong Kong, China, Singapore, and they took me out, looked after me, fed me, which, as anyone who's done backpacking, that's always well appreciated. Mm-hmm. A free night out and a few beers. And then I landed in Australia and loved it. I had a great time, worked a few gigs here, worked in a fairground, which was, interesting. Fairground in Albany. That was an interesting experience. I worked the Grand Prix in Melbourne. When I got to Melbourne, the Avalon Air Show, worked in the call centre, got abused by a lot of people while I was working in a call centre, but it's all part of the learning process. And then I sort of carried on back around the Pacific Islands to the US and back home. Got home and decided, you know what? Australia weren't a bad place. So went through the process of trying to find a way out there, and I was fortunate that my girlfriend at the time was a nurse, and we managed to get permanent residency. It took 2 years, but we got permanent residency, and we moved out to Australia in 2008. And we thought it'd be 2 years, then we thought it'd be 4 years, and 2024 we're still here. We never left. Got married, had kids, and here we go.
Right, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah. It's certainly been an experience, and yeah, pretty much within 3 or 4 months of arriving here, I decided. Well, I'd always wanted to work. I always wanted to be my own boss, and
Mm,
it was one of those decisions when I got here that I thought, yeah, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. If I can
mm,
give it I can give it a go. If it doesn't work, you know what, I can always, go home. So we hadn't got any money at all. So I was like, right, if I'm starting from nothing, I can't lose. So let's give it a go. So that was the entrepreneur in me. So
mm,
I spoke to a friend I made over here, and he built me a website. Cost me about $500 from memory, which I had to pay off over time. Um, I ran a Google AdWords campaign and set up a freight forwarding business. Called it Across the Ocean Shipping. Does exactly what it says on the tin. And yeah, basically just started targeting people who were moving around the world because I'd got no commercial contacts as such. So all I was doing was focused on people that were migrating and looking to move their personal effects
mm,
from point A to B. So which that promptly saw me driving all around Victoria, up to Bendigo, Ballarat, Shepparton, even. Measuring people's possessions to see exactly the cubic measurement of their shipments and
mm.
working out a price to ship their goods around the world. I picked up artwork, as I say, in Bendigo, and I've shipped all sorts of things, just trying to turn a dollar, make a buck.
Mm.
And yeah, that's pretty much how Across the Ocean Shipping started back in the day.
Yeah, mate. And now, from going from personal effects, give me the scale of things that you move now. Give us the scale of like you're moving potentially like a 1 or 2 bedroom house or apartment of a couple of a family to like give the listeners the scale of what you're doing now.
Um, yeah, so we sort of went from 1 or 2 jobs a month, just trying to make a dollar, be it a few boxes of somebody moving to Sweden, or we went from that, and through that, I started to invest in international freight networks, and the idea of these freight networks is they connect you with other freight forwarders around the world, and you attend one event a year, which is generally in Asia. Which it's always a good excuse for freight forwarders to get together and have a few drinks, and you build relationships there, and then they started consigning business to me, and I started consigning business back to them, and all the business they sent me was a sales lead, and that's how we started in the commercial route, and things we've shipped over the years, yeah, and what we're shipping now. I mean, we've just done a big project for a client of ours, big piece of machinery for a eucalyptus farm, which is about 7 containers worth of goods.
Yeah, well.
We ship coal shakers for a company in the mining industry. We've shipped break bulk cargo. We've shipped yachts on break bulk cargo. We've shipped a whole different array of products, and I mean, if you look around the room you're sitting in right now, I'd say 90% of what is in your room has been imported from somewhere. Something has been touched in another country. So obviously Australia's a huge importer. So there's a lot of opportunity, and that's what makes it interesting because you never know where what's going to end up in your inbox. We ship food around the world. We ship bentonite clay. There's obviously mining equipment. There's a whole different array of things, and it does make it really interesting to see what moves around the world.
Mm. Mate, what do you think in the loudest or biggest lesson that you've learnt in the time of building and operating the business and then doing what you do?
Um, be honest,
Hmm.
work hard, be nice to people. Um, always try and do the right thing by people is really important. And I've sort of built this business on, you know, yeah, things are going to go wrong in business. We're going to make mistakes. There's going to be shipments that are held up by customs. Somebody's going to make an error on some paperwork, which is going to cause a delay. Freight's going to get missed off a boat at some point. But you've got to own it. So I'm a great believer in, if you do the right thing by people, good things will happen. So that involves taking a punch in the nose every now and then, but you've got to own it in business. And I think as any business owner would tell you, it's, you get green lights, you get red lights. Some days you get those green lights and it's all systems go. It's great, but you're going to get those red lights, and it's how you react to it. Over the years, I've changed as a person. When you first set up a business, you take everything personally, and every little speed bump you hit, it floors you. But you build up that resilience over time, which is really important. And if you surround yourself with good people, which I always like to do, surround yourself by good people, you'll be all right. And as long as you're open, you're honest, and you're empathetic, they're all really important traits in a person. And that goes for being a business owner, or being a parent, or being a sibling. It's, you just got to have the right morals. That's really important. And I think if you've got that, 90% of people will see you right. Yeah, you'll get ripped off along the way. Some people will take advantage of you. I've had that happen to me. But that's the price of business. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, mate, just going back to what you said there, like honest, hardworking, and owning it. Do you think in business as a whole, not necessarily, in business as a whole, and or just society, do you think people own things enough, or own not necessarily the good things, right? Because owning the good things is easy, but owning the fuck ups, do you think that happens enough in the world?
I think society's changed a lot over the years with social media, and a lot of people are very, very quick to be keyboard warriors and really damage reputations of companies. And it's not always just. As for businesses and people owning things, I'm not sure it does happen enough. And you don't know what you don't know. And say you look back at this whole COVID thing that we went through, particularly here in Victoria, there were a hell of a lot of mistakes. We're all scarred from it.
It was an absolute shit show, wasn't it?
Oh God! Just when you look back now and think, how did we put up with that? Like, how did we let that happen? But when you look at things like that and the way we were treated and spoken down to as individuals by the leader of this state, and I know I'm gonna, I don't want to get political, but and the things we were told by the medical professions, and nobody's ever actually owned. Okay, put our hands up and gone, you know what, we might have got that wrong along the way, and and when big high level governments aren't putting their hand up and accepting responsibility for failures, that sort of feeds down into society as well, and people think, what, I can get away with that. I don't need to own that. But I think if we all, nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But I think if we owned it, things would move a lot better in the world and life. I'd like to think, but maybe that's just me on my fluffy cloud thinking. Yeah,
I love it. I think it. I don't think we do. I agree, and mate, it's mate, funny you bring up COVID because like now, what a couple of years on, uh, everyone reflects on it, but no, it's nowhere to be seen. Like meaning nowhere to be talked about. To go, that was a royal fuck up. That was how we could have done that better, right? No one's coming out and saying that openly in any media. And
No.
it was actually funny. We were talking to during that old lockdowns. We were talking to in-laws, and they were going to Florida, and we're like, yeah, like we had like 8 cases yesterday, and we're fucking locked in. And they're like, we're in Florida on the beach, and there was 20,000 yesterday, and we're about to go to a concert. I'm like, okay, great. Thanks for rubbing it in, but okay.
Wow.
And just and chalk and cheese, right?
Yeah. I like to think we've all learned from that. Everybody across the board. When the next pandemic comes in, we'll all get out of Victoria as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Jump ship, just go.
Yeah.
People will be calling you and go, David, can you forward me? Put me on a ship. Put me on a ship.
I tell you what I would say during COVID was people who didn't know what freight forwarders did back then certainly did during COVID. When you look at the whole supply chain, it was an absolute mess.
Mate, what do you think? What was it? Just an increase of demand? What do you think now? Upon reflection, what caused that? The mass delays, all of that, and to someone who and to general public who aren't in it, who don't get to see peek behind the curtains. What caused that? What do you think caused it?
People were sitting at home. People were sitting at home. They couldn't travel. They couldn't go out for dinner. They couldn't go to the theatre. They couldn't go and watch their favourite sports team. They couldn't go and buy a house really because that was all very difficult. So people have got money accumulating. They were sitting at home and think, you know what, that looks good. I might remodel my living room. I might buy that new 3-piece suite that we've talked about for years. Buy that new dining room table. People had money. There wasn't spending money on going out and socialising, luxury things. So, and this I suppose is commercialism. We sit there. I want to make myself feel good. There's not much we can do right now. The world's a shit place. Let's go and buy something that's going to make me feel good. Let's get that dopamine hit. So people were spending money. We had a client and they were absolutely killing it. They were bringing in spas. Everybody wanted a spa. So everyone's sitting at home in the spa drinking champagne. They were killing it. They were bringing in so many spas, and people back then, because there was so much demand for freight, people were spending so much money. The factories in China couldn't produce the goods quick enough. The vessels were full. And it was just a massive knock-on effect, which in turn drove up ocean freight rates. We saw, for example, a container from China, a 40-foot container. Pre-COVID, it was down to $800 US. The ocean freight was to move from North China to the east coast of Australia. At its peak during COVID, that same $800 box hit 13,000 US to move from North China to the east coast of Australia.
Holy shit.
And businesses were just phoning up saying, I don't care what it costs, we just need this. We're desperate for the cargo. We can't get it in quick enough. Everything we're stocking is just selling, and that goes for a whole different range of products. And obviously there was a lot of medical equipment and PPE goods that were being shipped at the same time as well. So there was a big demand on that. Hand sanitizer. I've never moved so much hand sanitizer in my life. And if you know anybody that wants any hand sanitizer, I've still got a warehouse full of it. I can't give it away. Yeah, so it was, it was just a knock-on effect. People sitting at home and, they were bored, and people had cash, and the governments were giving out cash to stimulate economies. And, there was a lot of companies that businesses like hospitality that did it really, really hard. And, it was one of those periods where you saw some businesses go crazy, busy, and other businesses just fell by the wayside. And it's so sad when you look at it. Yeah.
Have you seen the industry? Has there been a correction to that price point and to time lag and all of that? Now has there been a pendulum effect the other way, or is it still stayed on that pointy end?
No, it has dropped off considerably. It's dropped off, but what we've seen over the last sort of 12 months is the Red Sea issues with vessels not sailing around the Cape of Africa because of the Houthi rebels attacking the vessels. So that's caused a spike with rates, which in turn has delayed vessels arriving at certain ports, which in turn has created congestion in Singapore, which has had a knock-on effect here in Australia. A lot of business, particularly from Europe, comes into Australia via Singapore. When Singapore gets congested, it's a problem for Australia because freight gets held up, and that in turn forces prices to rise. We've had wharf strikes here in Australia over the last 12 months as well, considerable wharf strikes. Again, that's had a knock-on effect with rates going up. So we're seeing rates around about 4,000 USD for a 40-foot container out of North China at the moment, which is higher than pre-COVID, but it's obviously nowhere near what it was during COVID. And shipping it's like the stock exchange; it just goes up and down. And we're currently in what should be a peak season, but we have seen that slowdown this year and last year. To be honest with you, back end of last year. Where you can see people slowing down on their spends, and there's not as much freight moving, and people are very, very price conscious right now. So being a freight forwarder, you sort of see the trends happening before it hits, the news. We can see when slowdowns happen, and we can see when economy's going well by what's moving. So it's really, it's really interesting. Really interesting.
Mate, where do you see the industry going with some of these like, I don't know, just in terms of some of these congestions? There's been like a lot of talks in the industry with like carbon neutral credits and supply chain issues. And mate, I know that's a broad question, but where do you see the industry going?
That's good. That's a great question. Yeah, obviously, the world has become very aware of the amount of carbon that vessels and aircraft are emitting, and we actually set up a carbon neutral platform which we offer to all our clients to offset their carbon on each shipment. We feel it's important moving forward that people have that option to offset carbon. If we all do our little bit along the way. In turn, we buy tokens, which includes tree planting and a whole different range of projects that help offset carbon. The industry itself, I think, is going through a change where freight forwarding has always been a very manual industry. We're now seeing it digitalize. We're seeing you order a jumper, from a website. You can track it all the way from that warehouse, wherever it is in the world, to your door. People still can't track a container live from the warehouse to the door, which is a massive source of frustration. So we've invested a lot over the last 3 years in trying to get full visibility for our clients on exactly where their shipments are in the world. Still very manual behind the scenes. You still need that back end data entry, but we're now in a position where we're getting milestones automatically push out through the system from the information that we've entered into our SAP model. It pushes out to clients, and it's really important moving forward that this industry moves with it and things become more automated and more digital. We're seeing just in LA at the moment the change in the, you can't get on the wharf without an electric vehicle next year. So a lot of trucking companies are having to invest in electric vehicles, so which again is going to cause disruption. So there's never a dull moment of freight forwarding.
There's always something changing, isn't it? Always something changing.
Probably explains why I'm going so grey, Ginny.
Oh, that's great. I got a question for you. Mentioned like relationships and networking, and mate, you do a lot of it, right? I think a couple of years ago, you were heading somewhere, and we joked and said, "Is this the shaking hands, kissing babies tour?" And you're like, "Yeah, pretty much is." It is kind of solidifying those relationships. And mate, keen to hear in your industry, why is it so important?
I think it's important in most industries, to be honest with you. You're only as good as your network. You've got to invest in your network and meeting people. I find when I meet people, I learn, and if I learn something new every day, when I go to bed at night, I'm a little bit wiser than I was yesterday. But particularly, this industry, we deal with the whole world. So we're shipping things from Finland to America to Australia. We ship things the world over, and you need to have those contacts in each country. So, when we get an inquiry for something that is coming out of Finland, we can shoot off a message to our agent in Finland and say, look, we've got a container full of, parts that we need to get here. Can you help us? And that's really important, because I feel if you meet people face to face and you build that relationship, that trust then grows. And when you eyeball somebody, you can see, straight away. You can't do that over a phone or over an email. You got to meet these people. We've got clients that entrust us with, millions of dollars worth of business a year. And it's down to us to make sure that when we use an agent in a different country to move their products, and put them on a boat or on a plane, we've got to make sure that agent is entrusted. So that's why it's really important that we get out there and network and meet people. I've always done a lot of travel globally, because I enjoy it, and I think it opens doors. If you don't win business sitting behind your desk, you've got to get out there. You've got to meet people. I've always done that. Over in, I've travelled to events, which is great. And then it was only sort of 5 or 6 years ago, I thought, well, I haven't really grown my Melbourne network. I need to spend time on the ground and join some networking event. And that's when I obviously joined Cobb and met you, and we got to start getting on, and that again then has opened new doors for me, which wouldn't have opened previously. I've met some great people through networking that have led to investments in other businesses and different opportunities, and it's really important to get out there, because it, as I say, it helps you grow as a person, and I love it, because you don't know what you don't know.
Like, why do you think? Maybe, I don't know if it's probably more evident post-COVID, right? That people shy away from what you just said, right? Like for you and I, it seems like a no-brainer, right? Like the shakes hands, make a relationship, share a meal, have a drink together. For not only business, but like go, you know what, you might not be doing business then and there, but you know, you can call upon this person maybe in 2 or 3 years' time and go, hey, look, there's a deal here, or you never know, mate. I'm trying to go where my question is, mate. It's why is it a dying art? Like I think it is a dying art where there is, you said earlier on in the episode, you talked about keyboard warriors, and it's a dying art where people go, I'll just get on Zoom, and you're like, well, it's not really the same, especially on a initial interaction, right? As opposed to, I know with one of our businesses that we go, look, we'll come to you. They're like, what do you mean you'll come to us? I go, well, we want to see if you're a fit and we're a fit. And people don't do that anymore. And yeah, it might be that, it's efficient, blah, 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 and all that. But yeah, why do you think it's a dying art? Or do you think it's a dying art?
I do think it is a dying art, and it's such a shame because as humans, we're supposed to be interactive with each other. But I think there is so many options now for communication. You know, you can shoot a text message or a WhatsApp off to somebody, and you can arrange something. You can, without ever actually speaking to somebody. You know, you can book. You know, take an example. You book flights. Yeah, you want to fly to LA tomorrow. You used to have to go and see a travel agent and go through the process, sit down, have a chat. Now you just do it online. You know, you wanted a loan from your bank. You go in and, you know, put on your best, you know, shirt and tie, go and meet your bank manager, and they talk to you and see if you're good enough for a loan. Now it's all done online. It's really easy for people to communicate now without seeing each other face to face. And I think if we're not careful, it's going to become a dying art where people, and I was quite worried about this during COVID, that, you know, we wouldn't get back to the whole face-to-face meeting thing. People would lose touch of that. I still see it now. Like, you know, we try and arrange to sit like yourself, see as many people as we can, and prospects and clients, and not everybody wants to see you. I think some people have sort of got set, and yes, we are all busy now. You know, life is very busy. We're attacked from all angles with phones, with emails, and I think people just get caught up in things. But what I find by meeting people and networking gives me an energy. I love it. I really love the energy it gives. You know, and you know, it's just shaking hands and having a chat, and as I said before, you do learn things, and you've got to get out your comfort zone to succeed in life, you know. And I came over here with nothing, and I had no choice. I had to get off my backside and go out and meet people and see people and interact with people from in a completely different country, in a completely different part of the world. And I think that's stood me in good stead, that, you know, I will always put value on seeing people face to face, and I think a lot of people can learn from that. And there's nothing to be scared of, you know. As any salesman will tell you, they have to eat a spoonful of shit every day, you know, when they're picking up the phone and phoning up people. But what's the worst thing that can happen? You get up and you go again, and you just, you know, go and have a conversation with somebody. You'll be surprised where it will end up.
Right, do you think is it you just talked about, like, yeah, we're busy now, right? And I'm curious, this is just like not just business but just life in general. What's made us busier from like 10 years ago, or like when we were kids growing up? Like, I don't remember like my family being this busy, and I get, but like why do you think we're busy? Like, with just in life in general, where why? I don't actually know the answer to it, but I'm fascinated because I agree. Life is busy, but why? What's changed?
Mobile phones, the fact that you're able to contact somebody
Mm,
24/7. Pre-mobile phones, you'd arrange to meet somebody somewhere. You'd have to be there at that time. It was a non-negotiable, because if you wasn't there at that time, you'd have no way of letting that person know you're not going to be there. Whereas
mm.
now with phones, we're contactable 24/7, and it is a massive distraction. It's been great. It's been great in the things it enables us to do and the opportunities it provides. But we're a slave. We're a slave to modern technology, I think, and I often think what it'd be like to go and live on a remote island for a month, and cut off from the rest of the world, and see how we would survive as a species. It'd be really interesting. Um, but I definitely think, technology makes us busier. It's supposed to help us, but it makes us busier because we know we can always answer that email when we're at the office. Oh, yeah, bang! I've got to send that email off. Yeah, that can't possibly wait till tomorrow. Oh, I've got to take that call or make that call to somebody in Canada. It's yeah, you're always on. You're not off, are you?
Mm. That is true. That is very true. Yeah, you are always on, and it's easy to change plans. Right, when you said that when you
Yeah,
committed before, there's like you had to be there 5 o'clock, whatever. Sure, you're there. It's easier to change plans, and I think that now that there's more competition for our attention, where that
yeah,
if I'm if sometimes if something a little better comes up, or something is a
mm,
little harder, and they were a little wavy on making that commitment, people pike a lot easier. Where they go,
mm.
it's raining, it's poor. I don't think I really want to kind of travel to the city to catch up with the friends. And you're like, what do you mean? It's a bit of rain. Or it's like, I got the sniffles. Sorry guys, I can't make it. And which is a shame, because it's defeating that purpose of that human
Mm.
connection. And um, funny she said about phones, and there was a stat someone told me where, like, the younger generation now, if their mobile phone ran out of charge, and they asked them, would you go and try and find a charger, or go ask a stranger for directions? 90% of them said, I'll go try and go buy a charger, which is
Uh,
like mind-boggling, right?
yeah, yeah. You think about the art of reading maps. It's gone.
Yeah.
You know? You try and buy Melways tomorrow. See if you can find one. It's yeah. We are so reliant on them, aren't we? But then it says you and I doing this over Zoom.
Yeah, I know. It allows it, right? It allows it. It's interesting. It allows things, but it also puts up barriers. Right? Puts up the
Yeah.
easy excuse there. Um, right, awesome. If you could leave our listeners, right, with a bumper sticker, right, of either things we talked about today, or things you've learnt along the journey of your business, of meeting people across the world, different cultures, and at the end of the day, they're all humans, right? And they all connect. Right, what would you like to share? What would you like to leave our listeners with, to ponder, or even for them to try out themselves?
Wow. um, I would say move out of your comfort zone and be courageous, because you just don't know where that can lead to. Just by saying yes to somebody that you wouldn't normally say yes to, it can open a whole different. It can be like a sliding doors moment. So get out your comfort zone, because it's very easy for us all to stay in our comfort zone and just keep plodding along, plodding along, plodding along. But you don't. There's a whole world out there, and there's a whole world of opportunities. And if you're not courageous and take them, you don't know what you're going to miss out on, because there's a lot of good things out there.
Well, that's awesome. It's quite a large bumper sticker, but
be courageous. All right.
Oh, no, I'm joking. That's good. Let's go. Mate, David, thanks for spending the time and joining the show. And I always enjoy having a bit of a chat and a banter, and hopefully the listeners enjoyed it. And mate, just want to give the listeners, like, just vouch what you do. We've gone through you guys, and we've gone through, previous to knowing you, we've gone through different and forwarders, and we've been screwed over. We've been like charged an arm and a leg and zero communication or little communication. But listeners, if you do need to get anything moved across the world, David and his team are absolutely world class. Mate, you're genuine, your team's genuine. You can see that flows onto the team. And which is awesome, right? I think it's what you see is what you get with yourself, mate, and your team as well. So I know it's always, if someone asks me, I always go, you know what, go to across the ocean, and so mate, you should be very, very proud of the team, mate, and what you've built.
Thank you, Janesh. I really appreciate it, and I love what you're doing with this podcast. It's great, and keep pushing, mate. Keep pushing.
Will do. And mate, again, thanks again. And listeners, till next time, have a good one. Thanks for listening to another episode of Lifelong Learner. If you like this episode and want to know more and hear other episodes, head over to lifelonglearnerpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, where you'll be the first to know when new podcast episodes come out. And if you want to say hello, tell us a joke, or ask us a question, send us an email at hello@lifelonglearnerpodcast.com. Thanks again.